We go.
So why don't you bring us in here? Let's see to record. And let's see. I'm recording, so this is pre-show. Woo woo.
Here we go. We'll crank it right up.
Oh, I like that
Here we
hat.
go. That is a
Yep.
good hat.
That is a good hat. I like hats.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
How you doing, everybody? This is Dennis Michelson. Welcome to the science of fantasy football. Why the science of fantasy football? You get a meteorologist and a biologist together. They're going to use the scientific method. What does that mean? It simply means that we're using statistics in a smart way to guide us to the answer rather than the way some people use statistics. And that's like a drunk uses a light pole. And we have a special guest here because not only do we have the fantasy professor, he's a real professor, John Bush. We have a Fantasy Sports Writers Association Hall of Famer, Mr. Greg Kellogg. It is such a pleasure to have you visiting with us.
Well, it's actually my honor. And I'll be the skeptic to the scientist. You can call me the Neanderthal.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, this is the instrument that got me through my PhD. Y'all, there's a wire missing here. This is what I pick bacteria colonies off bacteria plates and transfer them. And I've saved it from since the 1980s. This is my lucky, and it's balanced. No, it's like a chopstick, but for a microbiologist, it's balanced here. See, look at the balance. This thing, so all I need is a little platinum wire with a hook on it. I can pick those colonies. So that, and I
John, you
keep it
said
as my
wire.
lucky. I'm
You
sorry.
said wire on it, and
Yeah.
I'm picturing you using that to poke yourself to keep yourself awake during the lectures.
No, Dennis, Greg, I stand up, walk around nervously, wake the kids up.
Oh, okay,
I
so the
won't.
wire could be used for that then.
Yeah, well, I try to wake them up. Kids go to sleep, and I change my voice. I throw jokes out at them. Just to keep them all going. We're having you, so our adrenaline's a little high, isn't it, Dennis? So let me go
Oh, it
to
is draft season. It is
yeah,
draft season. We are
it
on the
is draft
clock
season.
somewhere
So,
every hour of the day.
Greg, we are in a Superflex best ball tournament at FFPC. We are the River Valley Crawfish. So crawfish for me and River Valley for Dennis here. And you can see these are all the drafts that I've been drafting. I got to finish a few before the season starts. And here's the ones I've finished. So I do some serious drafting, almost 40 something leagues, and may even do a few more. My mind ain't right, and I'm ready to draft. So let me, Dennis,
Well,
go
let me
in.
ask you something. With that many, are they mostly best ball,
No,
or are you actually managing them?
those are all redraft every week. I got to do. I don't do a lot of best ball. I did some last year.
That's a lot of work, John. You
Well,
have
now,
my admiration. That's a ton of work.
well, I this is not the first year. Dennis knows I usually have done up to 50, and I've not tried more. I probably could. I know there's some hardcore out there that do more, and that's great. Uh, for instance, the waiver wire, if you kind of know your targets, then you kind of don't have to solve it 50 times. You look for fewer players in all the leagues, and there is some software from Fantasy Pros, their
Yep.
playbook, and it allows
Yeah, but you
multi.
got to go into 50 leagues to put in waiver claims.
Oh, well, that's.
And if they're some waivers are first come, first serve, some
No,
waivers are
these are all
based on your
fab.
record,
These are
some
all fab.
waivers are FA bucks, and you
These
have
are
to bid.
fab. These are all
Yeah.
fab. And
Yeah,
Oh, yours are all fab?
all
yeah.
fab.
Oh,
So
so
I
you
don't
got to
play.
bid on everyone.
Anything is open for me if I have $1,000 and I can spend what I want.
But on FPPC, Greg, you can put in a universal bid across all of your leagues.
Yes,
and
you
then
can.
it'll ask you what player you want to drop in each individual league.
Yes,
So
you
it,
can
it
set up.
streamlines it
But
when you manage a lot of
yeah,
leagues.
but the bidding, I would think, knowing your league mates, some leagues are more active than other leagues, and so you don't have to bid as much money, so you can
Yeah.
save money. When you're doing Fab, John, I think what a lot of people don't really understand about Fab system is, do you set aside a certain amount that you want to have for later injuries, or do you go all in early, or how do you handle your
So the
Fab bids?
strategy, uh,
Yeah.
it depends on what's there. Sometimes I'll risk 40%. Sometimes I'll risk $1. I'm a variable based on what I am calculating. So
So
there's no one size fits all. It's all variable. It's all what my team build needs. I do bid weeks in advance. So I look at what's happening the couple weeks, and I will pick up players that people are not thinking about that they should have a week or two ago, and I've already got them. So I'm not only do I have to do 50 leagues, but I'm thinking a couple weeks down. So it's the chess versus checkers concept. So look, I'm retired. I don't have a family. I do have family, my wife and daughter, but they're both, they do their own things. My daughter's working, so she actually draws a paycheck. Woo woo. I'm happy about that. Not on the street. And my wife is retired, and she's an artist. She does crafts and mosaics. So she spends pretty much 3 or 4 times a week in the studio working, uh, 6 to 8 hours at her retirement. So I have plenty of time, me and my dogs, and I'm an introvert who plays an extrovert on TV, and I can sit in my data cave here and work 24/7. I will get up at 2 in the morning if I've got to beat you. I will
Well, let
crush
me
you
give
like a
you a
bug, and whatever I need to do, I will. If I have to walk
let,
through the
let me give
walls,
you a
I will.
specific.
Okay.
Your drafts finished before the Brian Robinson Jr. trade. Say this is the scenario.
Yeah.
Your drafts finished before the Brian Robinson trade.
Yeah.
You're going into the first week of free agency.
Yeah.
Robinson's gone.
Yeah.
How much of your free agent budget
Uh-huh.
do you invest in Bill? And for those that don't know, Bill is Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt.
Uh, if he was available in any FFPC league, it is unthinkable with these characters in these leagues. Dennis will testify. He's not going to be available in these kind of leagues. $35 a pop. Uh,
Well, what about Woody? What about
he's
Woody Marks?
he was
he's not available.
yeah. So
Oh,
here's the thing, Greg.
Ollie Gordon's not available.
When we started drafting in late May,
yeah.
JCM, Woody Marks, those guys were being already drafted by the professor and I. I've got a late
Greedy.
running back theory starting in round 11. Now, these FPPC redraft leagues, they have 10 bench spots. So you've got a deeper bench than in ESPN or Yahoo leagues.
Yes.
But starting with round 11, we're almost exclusively grabbing late running back guys. There'll be a few late wide receivers or tight ends that sneak in.
Gone.
Yeah, Blake Corum's gone. Jerquez Hunter is gone in a lot of these leagues. You're down to the scraps. There might be some Miles Sanders still available, but
Shipley is gone.
Shipley's usually gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: Tim Patrick may be available. He just got traded. He may be moving up in value because of his trade. Is he available? And if so, how much would you invest in a Tim Patrick?
I would invest in Hunter Renfro, right? Dennis,
Yeah.
didn't Coker go to? So Jalen Coker went IR this morning. I don't know if you've heard that.
I
Yep.
did not hear that.
Yes,
Yep.
he's IR now. So
Breaking
that
news.
Is that 6-week IR or end of season
He's-
IR?
No.
Minimum of 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay.
Minimum of 4, but it sounds, it's an oblique, so it could be something that is not going to cure itself very quickly. And they signed they traded for, well, I guess signed Hunter Renfro.
So he would be the target there. But Leggett, good news if you have Leggett shares, they just moved up.
And
And Tet. And
Jimmy
Tet
Horn.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I think McMillan was already up there. I don't think Thielen and Coker moving doesn't really move the needle much for me.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Horn, Hunter Renfro, those are the new guys in the slot. So with Thielen gone, I was really big on Coker before the Thielen move, because I was kind of anticipating Thielen would be gone. Here's one thing, Greg, that we have done a study on. Professor a couple of years ago did a study on fab dollars per point. And we determined that bidding hot and heavy after a guy who was left on waivers, like a Puka Nakua a few years ago, you get more value out of that fab money by blowing it early, because there's always one or two players that we all miss on, right? And that becomes really apparent in weeks 1 and 2. The guys that come later, I'm not really too worried, because those tend to be the scraps, and my team was probably in better shape after that big spend early on. Now, the one thing we have to worry about with FPPC is we like to stream a lot at kicker and defense.
All stream.
So you got to save fab bucks for that.
Correct.
$1.
Because you cannot bid zero. You have to bid a minimum of $1 every bid. So you always have to reserve,
some money.
I always try to keep $50 on the sidelines to know I've got it. Yeah.
Anyway, Greg, great questions. And that's why we love to have you, because we don't get those kind of questions. Because that's the forest for the trees. And I appreciate that thinking a lot. And this is where we're at in this team. This is best ball. The only, we do 3 of these.
Did I notice Dak Prescott on your roster there?
Oh yeah.
You gotta love Dak right now.
Oh yeah. Jordan Love and Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I couldn't care less about Love or Wilson. I think Love may be done for the year after week 1, because I think Hutchinson's going to eat his lunch.
Well, that we're obviously hoping not, but Wilson is there. But yeah, if Dak carried us through in the best ball, that'd be great.
And let me ask you this, and since you've got Russell Wilson on your roster right now, any thoughts about rostering Jackson Dart?
He's gone already.
Yeah, he's gone. Okay.
These leagues are sharp.
How many teams?
Folks?
12.
Okay, so it's a normal standard size league then.
But deep benches really and it's a slim league, so there's no defense,
or kickers in there.
So it opens up truly 12 is your bench.
How many roster spots?
12. Oh, what is it, Dennis?
21. It's a 21 round
with
league.
No kicker and no defense.
Right.
You have 21 spots.
Deep leagues. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any backup quarterbacks available?
Here they are.
Very lean. Actually, 20 round draft. Sorry.
Cousins is there if Penix folds. Badgett is there. Wilson is there.
And this
Badgett, I would probably invest in Badgett, because I'm not sure Caleb Williams is going to get that Ben Johnson offense. And Badgett looked very good in it in the preseason.
I think that's a good call for an emergency quarterback. in
Yeah.
a super flex
And
situation.
if you wait 3 or 4 weeks, then it may be too late.
Well, this is best ball, so we have one bite of the apple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing. So Dennis, on our queue, we got Bashard Smith, Taji Brooks. Coker, I think we want to what? Move
We
him
wanna
down. We
move
want
him
to kill
down,
him
yeah.
or kill him. So let's see. What do we need here? We probably need a wide receiver, huh?
Yeah, and I don't
Or
mind
a running
Amari.
back.
Yeah, let's go to the wide receiver list here. I'm kind of leaning Amari Cooper here.
Versus Dubs. What about Kylie Williams
Dobbs and
or
Cooper
Horton?
Dobbs and Cooper are both guys that I would consider here.
You don't want Dubs?
Yeah,
I like Dubs better, John,
yeah,
to be honest.
I take in a
I
best
think
ball.
Cooper's done.
In a best ball environment, I'll agree with Greg. The Dobbs in a best ball, I like him better than in a set lineup because I don't have to decide which week he's going to be the hot guy.
Well, we have Neighbors, Higgins, Diggs, Pittman, and Ayuk to come on later. So
I like Dobbs there. That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Okay. Well, he's ours. Okay, we took him. Woo. Crawfish took him. Let's go to the other one, Dennis, and then we'll start the secret stuff that I'm gonna let Greg see. Since he's here, nobody ever watches our podcast, so they
this
miss
is
the
a.
secret
I don't know.
stuff.
I watched it. I loved it. I didn't understand why you guys use icons instead of your faces.
Well, nobody wants to see my hideous.
But John, this is how you get known. So when you go to the expo, people know who you are.
Yeah, but then I have to be sweet. And
he's got to talk to people.
You're already sweet. I don't know what you're talking about.
Greg, you're a sweetheart. You're a big teddy bear. Everybody loves you. And I'm an old crabby professor. Nobody wants to talk to me. You failed my sister.
I could use some of that crankiness sometimes.
Well, but anyway, look, I will help any and everybody. That's what I've been doing for 30 years. But, I float in the weeds a lot. And I know I shouldn't. But, Greg, you can be my extrovert muse, okay? At the expo, you can do that for me. So keep bugging me.
I will definitely introduce people to you. That's
okay.
For sure.
Well, thank you. We were busy this expo. Every time I saw you were rocking and rolling. You stay busy, and I like that. That's good.
It's why I love going. Is I like talking to football fanatics and everybody there, whether they're content creators, just players, they all share the same passion for the NFL.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was a fun time.
Yeah. Dennis, we need another tight end. We got Ertz. I'm liking, me. I like Otten big time.
Yeah, I'm not too scared about the injury. I think it's a minor thing.
I'm gonna draft him. We got 2 bites. So
I like one. Otten. I like Otten here.
Do we want a third quarterback or do we want? Looks like a running back. What do we want?
Let's see how lean it is in the quarterback department.
Okay.
Who are your quarterbacks?
Well, right now we have Goff and Tua, which is.
We got caught late on that. Yeah.
Who's Tua's backup?
Who is
that's a good question because I don't think it's going to be the same guy all season because they took the rookie Ewers.
Yeah, I don't even.
I might go with Mariota with Ewers then because frankly,
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson
is one hit away from retirement.
Yeah, I think they go with Zach Wilson unless they're out of it, and that's why I say I think that's the tough part is who is the backup.
Do we want to grab like Garoppolo?
Put in there.
Think that Stafford's noodle arm.
Did Spencer Rattler go already?
Yeah, yes, we got Richardson, Gilbert, Milroe, Sanders.
Shuck is there, the other alternative in New Orleans if Rattler fails.
Yeah.
Do you want one of these, or you just want to try to do 2? Or are you thinking I
don't know if there's anything.
Greg warns us. He warned
Quarterback
us.
is the most injured position in football.
Yeah, and we're gonna. The question is Mariota going to be healthy enough to play, because he missed some preseason time with a minor
He's
injury.
still in the league.
Yeah, yeah,
Marcus.
yeah. That's yeah. So I'm sorry, Zach Wilson. Had Mariota on the brain. He's with Washington. Zach Wilson is the other alternative, and he missed one of the preseason games. They were holding
I
him out.
like the Ewers kid. I really do.
I just don't know if they like him as much as
Yeah.
we do. That's the question. I don't know. That's the tough part of deciding there.
Yeah, and typically you want to take a backup from another team's quarterback, and hope that quarterback gets hurt, not your guy.
Yes,
But when you
yes.
have Tua, I think you have to take his backup
Yeah, I don't think
because
we
of
have
his
to.
history.
Yeah, I just don't think we have to do that until the tail end of the
Yeah.
draft.
Oh no, you don't
I
have to
think we
do it
can.
now.
I think we could do it late. What are we doing at wide receiver there on this
I was
team?
going to grab Marks, but
Let's see what the wide receivers look like.
Cooper, Kylie, Horton. I like those two for upside here. Palmer.
And Tyler Lockett will give you steady
Yeah,
production.
I just don't know if I like Trey Harris too.
Yeah,
Dennis?
and I actually really like Cam Ward. I think he looked real solid.
Dennis, is there anybody here that we gotta have, or because we'll get
Do you
another
like them
bite?
better than Woody Marks?
Well,
Because I saw that you were going to grab Marks, and I think
Yeah, I like Marks.
yeah. The reason I like Marks is because I just don't know if anybody else is going to survive in Houston. You got Damian Pierce, you got Mixon who's out, and you got Chubb who
looks slow.
Who knows what he's got left. So
Is there
Woody
anybody?
Marks,
Yeah.
Woody Marks would be the last man standing is the theory. How many running backs do we have so far, though?
Dennis, we got 4. We really need another
Yeah,
one,
we
I
could
think.
use another running back.
So what do you
Pop
think?
the running backs back up here.
Here they are. They're listed.
Oh, if you want to take a flyer, you got Shipley there.
Yeah, I see.
And
Yes.
that's a great offensive line.
I do
And
like
you know
that
how
call.
I feel about
Yep.
Barkley.
Yep, I do like that call. I like that call
Okay, done.
because I think he's going to get. I think he's going to get some play even with
Barkley playing.
healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so we just did that. So that was good. Thank you, Greg.
Well, yeah, but most of your viewers probably aren't aware of why I would choose Shipley over Marks, because I think early in the year, Marks is going to get a lot more play than Shipley. But my theory is that Barkley won't survive the whole season. And it's based on historic precedent. Now, I know Dennis has looked, and it's even worse. I use 370 as my touchstone. You said it went down to 310?
Well, 310 is the level at which we see a decline in weekly value the following season. It doesn't mean they fall off the face of the earth, but with Barkley, that 370 number has always been more dire of a really bad thing. If you add in the playoffs last year, he was over 400 touches. So
yes,
that's scary to me because. And it's not that I believe in injury prone. It's not that I believe in a lot of that stuff. It's not that I believe that, professors.
Oh, you definitely believe in the curse.
The curse I believe in. Yeah, curse I believe in because it's numbers that are hard to look at and say there's going to be a decline. How bad that decline is the mystery. The professor has shown some survivor research that is really quite impressive with older running backs that, yes, the bulk of them go away pretty quick. Father Time is always undefeated in the NFL. That's why it does stand for not for long. But the ones that can survive, those unicorns like Barkley and Henry, they stick around and they continue to confound the statisticians. But I just don't like the fact that he got so much play last year. And it was,
Yeah.
I look at it, the number of times he was over 25 carries was pretty,
Dennis,
or
you
25
used
touches.
Barkley with Henry. And Henry, to me, is the true unicorn. He's the guy I think can last till he's 35 as a running back, which never happens. All right. But that said, Derrick Henry had 2 cursed seasons. Now, cursed season is when you get 370 or more touches. And in both of them, he lost at least 25%. One of them, he lost half.
Yeah.
So I got to say, I don't see Barkley as a unicorn. I think he's going to be every bit the same as his predecessors.
And Henry is just built different than any other running back in the league. And you always worry about legs with running backs, and those are built the same. But the size of that man compared to everybody else in the league at running back,
240 that could run a 4.40.
Yeah, he's the unicorn of unicorns,
you know.
But it's
he's the Bo Jackson and the Herschel Walker.
Yeah,
that's the type.
I like that. I like that that analogy between the two. Yep.
Yeah. But I don't see Barkley as that.
Well,
no.
Let me just give you a counterpoint.
All right.
If you remember,
I like counterpoints.
Yeah. In my poster at the expo, I looked at average touches per game and across the season. So instead of counting total, you actually divide it by the games played. When you do that, Barkley isn't scary at all. In fact, he's around 24 touches per game. Henry achieved a few years ago 30 touches per game average. And if you look at the above 25 touches and above historically to 2013, only 1 out of about 14 has failed. And I consider failing the next year. They were at 14 instead of in the 20s. So that data says don't worry about Barkley. So it'd be curious to see. Everybody has the curse thing. Metrics looking in a different way would say on average there's the failure rate's about 10%, a little bit less. So Barkley could be the 10%, but I'm saying
he could be. But John, what you're looking at is touches.
Yes,
I'm looking at fantasy points because
no, I'm not looking at touchdowns.
Touches.
No, I'm not looking at
No, you're looking at touches.
Yes,
you said 14 touches
per game, average over the season.
Right. But if a guy gets 20 touches one year, right, and he gets 20 touches the second year, you say he's flat. But if a guy gets 20 touches and turns that into 20 points per game year one, and gets 20 touches and turns that into 10 points per game year two, I say he failed. He's got the same number of touches, but he's not as efficient.
I'm measuring opportunities with the touch count. I'm not looking at scoring. So I'm
looking at scoring only.
I'm just looking
from a
at
fantasy
touches.
Perspective, I really don't care how many touches they get, as long as they get the scoring.
Yeah, if you look at, as long as you look at the lens of touches the next year, it is predictive statistically. So again, not points, just so I'm measuring opportunity. Opportunity,
but you're
is
doing that
predictive.
on a per game basis, right?
Across the season,
right? But again, my
point
is,
I took number of games played,
total touches, 20 touches per game.
Yeah,
but if he only plays half the games, again, he's failed as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm opportunities and
per game.
I could pull up the post. I can't leave Zoom now, But
No,
if
no,
you
that's
ever,
okay.
yeah, but
Everybody that does
opportunities,
this will tell you opportunities are king.
yeah,
They will.
opportunities are predictive. I
Yes.
will say that.
But the problem with looking at only opportunities and not season long statistics
But it
is
is
that
season long.
injuries will skew the results of the opportunities. If you're looking
Just
at
like
opportunities per
touchdowns if
game,
you're looking at fantasy points
right,
per game. So
right,
I walked away from the skewing of the touchdowns.
right. So
So
with the opportunities, if you look at it not only as a per game metric, but also as a season long metric, I think
yes.
that'll give you a better
Well, it
overall
was
picture.
okay. So total touches across the season divided by games played. That's touches per game.
Right. And what I'm saying is that you can go from one year to another year and your touches per game can be consistent.
It
But if
is.
you play fewer games, it's not predictive of how that
In
guy's
other
going to
words,
perform
it's
for you
if they're
fantasy.
injured. If they're
Right.
injured,
Well, what
I
what
can't
what we
predict injuries.
what we can
No,
also
nobody can.
what we can also see, and we saw this with Travis Etienne last year, is his touches stayed fairly close. His opportunities stayed pretty close, but he was horribly inefficient last year
Yeah.
in producing points. So was that due to the fact that they gave him a heavier workload? Who knows? Like
Well, it's usually a
those are the
variety of
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
factors.
And,
Yeah.
and
But
there's Dennis, before I forget, there is this idea that metrics people are stuck in molasses and we do robotically. What I'm saying overall, the picture is this is where you start your thinking.
yeah.
Right.
Greg, this is not the end of
And
the day. Here's all my bankroll on Barkley hitting 24 touches per game. I mean, if you want to see, am I
Oh, I
really,
think you will. I
then
think
I'll
he'll hit
bet.
well over 20 per game.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just
then
don't know how many games he'll
that's the
play.
best I can do.
Yeah.
yeah,
Predict.
and
Yeah. But
here's where we combine the statistic tools and get a full picture on the player, because
Full picture.
using my
Synthesis.
using my MVP index, Barkley was not RB1 last year. He was actually RB6, and it
he
shocks
wasn't
people.
RB1 in fantasy points. That was
No.
Jameer Gibbs.
Correct. And Gibbs and Bijan Robinson now.
Oh,
They were
he changed pronunciation.
he likes Bajan now.
Okay.
But those were the 1 and 1A last year. They were even, within, there was no statistical difference between those two. Barkley was all the way down at number 6 in his weekly upside consistency. So, I'm already kind of out on him at ADP because I got to take him at RB3. And I know that last year was his best year. He was RB6 using my metrics. It just
Fantasy Pros has him at RB1.
Yeah, and that's
You
a
get a
chalk.
2,000-yard season, and
That's a
people
chalk. That's a chalk
notice
play.
that. Yeah.
But how many 2,000-yard seasons happen back to back? They don't
None.
happen very often.
None.
Yeah, they never. Yeah, you got to go way back in time to see
Even way
anything
back.
like that.
None.
Yeah, actually, you're right, because the guys that did have those 2,000-yard seasons are few and far between.
Yeah.
But anyway,
OJ,
yeah,
Barry.
Man, and even when you have a tank as a running back, and back in the day, my Kansas City Chiefs had a guy who was probably one of the
Christian.
the fiercest looking guys other than Derrick Henry, the Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okonkwo.
Christian.
Yeah, and he couldn't survive heavy volume. So volume, usage, and father time are undefeated in the NFL. So it is a good reason to stay off. Well, One of the things that we are going to be doing this year that's a little bit different, folks, is we're going to be introducing a new podcast, and we wanted to jump into that this week as well. Professor, are you ready for us to jump into that, or is there one more thing you want to share?
Is the Greg, what the sports affiliation, is that TSA?
Yeah, the sports affiliation, and you guys call it Data Lab, right?
Oh, Matchup Lab.
Oh, Matt. Oh, that's even better.
We're going to call preseason next year for you guys Data Lab. So we're going to distinguish in season from out of season. How about that?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I like the way you guys do the numbers anyway. I loved when I found, see, I've known these guys for 2 years now, and they never once mentioned they had a podcast to me. I went out and found it. And finally, you guys need to subscribe to these guys because they're very good.
Well, thank you, Greg. So part of what I wanted to show folks, we have a synthesis for our matchup of our metrics, such as MVP, COM, some other things we use. We also looked at Vegas metrics, and we also look at defense against position. And I invented something called the Bush efficiency metrics, and it includes home away. Okay. It is yards per game, points scored, real points on the scoreboard per second of offensive activity. I've got a metric that folds all those together, and I call it my efficiency number. So we got yardage, points scored per second, speed.
Well, check me, but a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, for instance, he shares a lot of his time with David Montgomery. So you said per second that he's on the field. No.
This is team level.
It's a team metric.
It's a team metric.
So you're basically looking at the Lions offense.
Yes.
And how many points they scored by how many seconds they were actually on the field?
Yards gained, passing, receiving, rushing, whatever. Yards.
What about return yards? Do they count?
Nope.
Okay. Just offensive yards.
Offensive. Points on the board. So if they've got a good defense, I'm kind of throwing that in a little bit. And per second. And I'm not defining it exactly, the equation, Greg, because I don't want to give away the secret sauce yet.
Well, no, but just tell me
that's it.
Top three offenses under that metric.
In 2024, do I have that data?
Because I want to hear Detroit. That's what I want to hear.
I can tell you, and I just gave this as an example. I track every 3 weeks.
Every 3 games.
I have a moving 3-week average. So last year in week 17, as we ended the season pretty much, Minnesota, Buffalo, Philly in green were the top 3. The worst were Atlanta, Denver, and Las Vegas. And that is the metrics there. I also have a secret sauce. I don't think I've told Dennis this, my power rankings. And I have another way to measure, and I'm just going to leave it at power rankings. Everybody can guess what it's all about. So people, when they look at our matchup lab, I'll bring in the weekly power ratings. I'll look at efficiency as well. And then we will bring in defense against position data. I got a lot of data to look at. And again, it is synthesis. This is not the end of the thinking, Greg. I want to present things for people to inspire their thinking, because I want to teach them how to fish. I don't need to sell a tip sheet every week. I mean, I understand coming from the horse races.
So are your metrics predictive? In other words,
have I tested
Yeah, have
I
you
tested?
tested against known results?
Okay. So let's see.
Because you could go back and
Okay.
look at what the metrics would have said before the
Yeah,
games
yeah, yeah.
last
It's
year
called red
and see how
boarding.
they came out.
Yeah, well, touches per game is predictive of next year's touches. I can tell you that. That's predictive.
Okay.
Uh, our MVP and calm consistency is predictive as well, groups. And I had that as a poster. So I will jump in. I was just going to show the spread in 2024 of Vegas. There
Okay.
was one game Vegas said was 19 and a half
Ooh.
points versus basically zero or pick 'em. And
Yeah.
this is the distribution, and it's really skewed. 50%
Very tight.
of the game is about 5 to 1, 1 point to 5. That's the normal spread that Vegas is going to start. Anything extraordinary is about 12. So I just want people to see the distribution that when Vegas says something is 12-point spread, that is highly, highly unusual. Even above 7 or 6.5 is top 25%. Vegas is saying this is really a overall season game. This is in only 25% of the games will be this skewed. So people need to understand this as a foundation. You hear the word spread, people, it's 4, it's 6, it's 8, it's like, well, what does that mean? This box and whisker shows you what it means. It puts you on mark of where it is statistically looking at 2024. So,
But Vegas modifies the spread
you know,
to equalize betting for both
I
teams.
understand. This is
Correct.
not the
So
end.
it's not that they're predicting that a team is going to win by that many points.
Uh-huh.
It's that they're trying to get
Yeah.
bettors
But
to
would you be,
bet on
yeah,
both sides.
would you be surprised, and I'm not showing this data, that it's pretty damn close. Vegas,
Is it really? Yeah, because
yeah,
I've always wondered that.
just wanted, I'm not showing the data. Frankly, I did it so many years ago and I haven't done the study. I need to get around to it. But when I did, I was like, damn, Vegas, you're so good. They especially over unders. They're not fools. Okay. So then I wanted to show Vegas over and under for 2024. Normal is 41 and a half to 47. So when people say the over under is between there, that's about right. Anything below 41 is defensive. It's the lower 25%. Anything above 47, so about 48, 47 and a half, is in the upper 47. So I mean upper 25. So you need to know when you snapshot a game, when we do our matchup, people need to know where we're at. Is it the same old stuff in here? Is it something very intriguing? Or is it going to be a defensive matchup? At least that's the data. And let's see, what did I do?
And on that
Mhm.
over under, what we have found, Greg, is that the advantages in fantasy football spot plays
Yeah.
are really at the extremes.
And I've got favorite dog. I've got some other data I'm not showing because Dennis and I want to do some props. But I will show this whole card. Passing attempts for 2024 per team per week here. This is the distribution. 28 to
Somebody
30.
had no passing attempts.
Yes, for a game, an average game.
That was a
per game.
Wasn't
I'm
that
sorry.
wasn't that a New Orleans game with Hainer playing, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
They didn't throw one pass?
I think so.
That's wild.
Well, it's an extreme per game.
It sure is.
So, and then the sum of the passing yards for the season. Okay, I've got that per game. I'm sorry, per game. I should see, Greg. I didn't even do that per.
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Thank you. So anyway, this is the distribution that you can expect. you can see almost 600 yards is such an extreme versus 0. Anyway, so I divided the weeks and teams up by the top 25% over under, the mid 50%, the bottom 25%, and asked the question, what was the average of those teams passing yards in each category, in each bucket? 248, 249, 233, 216. And so statistically, you're saying, well, is that really different? The answer is, by using ANOVA analysis, is 0.004 chance that it's random. So this is real. Top 25% of over under is above 48, is telling you you're going to get this many passing by the team on average versus the bottom. So defense, and they're going crazy here. And if you do an actual Tukey analysis, it says that the top 25% and the mid 50% are not different. Good to know, but they are both different from the bottom 25%. When Vegas declares over-unders below like about 41, you can expect on average the teams to be about 216. When they declare 48 or better, 249. And that is, what did I say it was? What advantage is that? That's almost, what is that?
4/1000ths of a percent or something.
About
No,
15%.
if you look at yards, it's
about 15% difference.
Yeah, 15% difference. Greg, that will win you a league or not. So fantasy point wise, they're going to be kicking in, what is that? 33 yards?
It's about
is
an
that right?
additional, yeah, it's about an additional 1.3 points.
Well,
But
the catches, Dennis,
yeah,
and the yardage. So probably up to maybe 4. And if they catch a touchdown, so it can swing from 4 to maybe 10 better points in that high over under situation.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And
just listening to Vegas say over under, and we're going to tell people, let them focus. And like I said, Greg, I've been listening on the radio, no offense to anybody out there. How come I'm having to do this versus y'all should tell me and John, save my time?
I can tell you the answer to that, John.
They either hide it or
it's why I like you and Dennis so much. You two look at things differently than the average fantasy guy does.
Yep.
We look at trends. I mean, I grew up looking at trends. I don't look at statistics. I mean, I don't dig down deep into the statistics, and it would never cross my mind to look at Vegas odds for anything other than I'm in that Bull Rush championship now. So I'm going to talk to you two guys about getting some bets to place, because even though it's not real money, I can win real money. And if I win real money,
that's good.
Bull Rush is going to donate it to the hospice care.
Oh, cool.
Me. Nice.
So, very cool.
Yeah, I don't gamble.
So, Greg, this is going to be the matchup information we're going to present for each game that we do on our.
Okay, so how do you read that?
Well,
Jacksonville, Tennessee. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jacksonville, Tennessee. This was week December 29th last year.
Final week of the season.
Yeah. So what I did, Greg, is I did this first. So I have this first. So here's the cake. Here's the frosting on top. Vegas info.
I want to know where the fork is.
So 1 o'clock, Tennessee.
Buttercream frosting too.
Yeah. Spread is 1. Over under is 39. So right away,
so it's a lower percentage is what you're saying.
That 216 yards per each of these teams. And there is a favorite dog breakout a little bit. So I'm not showing it, but you can skew more of the yardage to Tennessee versus Jacksonville a little bit. But still, it's not going to be dramatic.
They'd be favored.
Yeah, this is not going to be dramatic. And so I use this score, the predictive score, based on what Vegas is telling us. And I have some verbiage, and we're going to put this hard copy. People can come back and look at this video and look at this the whole season. And I define what is high, what is low, and the average here, making these marks so people can look.
So wait a minute, this is predicting a 21-19 score for the game, right? Basically, is that what I'm
That's
seeing?
what Vegas is saying.
Okay, 21-19, which gives it the 40 points, which is basically what the over-under is, 39.5.
Yeah.
So if it's predicting basically a 21-19 score, what was the actual?
I don't know.
20-13.
Okay.
Jacksonville was the winner.
Okay.
What was total? What was the yardage?
I would guess if it's 20-13, it wasn't great yardage.
I said
yardage, 216.
So we saw worse than that because he had 193 yards for Mason Rudolph for Tennessee, and he had 174 for Mac Jones.
So,
it didn't have Trevor in it.
No, he was out week 17.
So anyway, our matchup information, I said 216 on average. This was even below, but it was going to be weak. In other words, you wouldn't be like, oh, I better play all the flexes from Tennessee and Jacksonville. They're going to score a lot of points.
Not to,
not at all. And then we go further. Can you tell I'm excited, Greg? I'm just glad to have somebody.
I'm excited, man. This is stuff I haven't seen.
Yeah, having Dennis sit there and his old crazy coffee eyes looking at me. I'm tired of him. But anyway, this is the defense against position information for our matchup. And Jacksonville was at home. Tennessee was away. Jacksonville in green means it was an easy matchup for Tennessee. Did they win?
Okay, what is DAP? DAP?
Defense against
position. Yeah, I should have remembered. Okay.
Yeah, and I should.
So you're saying the running back?
Here it is. Yeah.
The running back is for both teams should be good.
Easy. So Jacksonville should have had, an opportunity. You've got to make, Greg, the final decision, right? We're telling you what the averages say, right? It's like, I'm going to hike up that mountain. What's the average hike? 2 hours. Yeah, but that's a 20-year-old track star. Me, I'm an old slug. What's the lower limit here? 2 days. Okay, there's Dr. Bush with his cane going up the damn mountain. But I need to understand the limits. And so this is for people to understand the average view and then make other decisions. See, I don't want them to be stuck, Greg, like, Dr. Bush says extra easy, I must play this. No. Bet the mortgage on the running backs. No.
So was it ETN or Bigsby in this game?
In this game, it was ETN and Bigsby splitting.
And how did they do?
Total of 122 yards rushing for Jacksonville and a total of 159 for Tennessee.
So I said it was going to be,
a good
easy.
Matchup.
And I've got the data that I'm not showing, Greg.
And I love the color coding because that makes it easier to read and understand.
So the quarterback, so Jacksonville is going to have a tougher time. Tennessee should have been having so Jacksonville's easy to fight. They have a running back. They have a nice quarterback. Their wide receivers are okay. Everything stacks up for Tennessee, even though Vegas said it's close. The DAPs would tend to favor a little bit more of Tennessee on it here. The defense, this is for streaming. Anytime you see easy, that means you probably should play Jacksonville's defense because
they only gave up 13 points, right?
Yeah, but did they catch an interception? Or
they got an interception as well.
There you go. So this is pointing to some weakness in the offense, they can give up the ball a little bit. So a streaming defense that week could have been Jacksonville. There's others you have to choose. And so I go and define these here, and I only really play the extremes. In other words, I look at easy versus the tough. That's what gets my attention. These below and above average is kind of a little squishy on the data here.
And
Okay, but now let me ask you this, John.
Okay.
When you have a stud, okay, let's say you've got,
and he's got a tough situation, what do you do?
Yeah, you're still going to play Jahmyr Gibbs no matter who he's
yeah,
playing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, how could
so where do you draw the line? At what point do you draw a line? A mid player?
So that's flex, a great question. That's flex, a great question. I have the answer.
Injury, MVP.
Yep.
Any of that kind of information I go and look for. It tells me to go look, Greg. That's what this data tells me to
Are
go
you going to
look
put
up.
MVP on your charts?
No, but Dennis can talk about it.
Yeah, that's a player level thing, not a team level thing.
And these are team.
These are team levels, but the team level lets us know. So if that had been an extra tough matchup, I'm not playing anybody at running back, wide receiver, quarterback who's got an MVP under 80 unless I'm really desperate. The higher the ADP or higher the MVP goes, the more likely they are to withstand a bad matchup.
Matchup proof.
Yeah, but that may be, Dennis, but there's going to be times when you have to play a player that's under 80 because you don't have to over.
Absolutely. And that's where you cherry pick the easy matchups. So if I've got two players and they're in that same tier, they're all under 80, and in MVP, and I have to decide between the two.
He froze up.
That's when I got a guy 65 versus a guy 100.
Yeah.
I'm taking the 100 every day of the week.
But
that's the way that.
Do you ever take the matchup over the MVP?
Rarely. Okay. I will lean into my studs because in order to get a 100 or better on the MVP, you have had to do fairly good against tough defenses. Now, if I'm in a dynasty league situation and I have one of these where I've got 5 great running backs to choose from every week, they're all over 100, then I'll use the matchups to decide who I start. And last year, I had a lot of teams, with Chase Brown and Bucky Irving as my later running back choices, and had guys, I had one team where I had Derrick Henry and Barkley were my starters. And then I had Chase Brown and Bucky Irving that I got picked up later in the draft. You got there I was using matchup data if I had to not start one of them. And needless to say, that league I won easily the championship. But the key is the MVP is a tiebreaker for me. It's a sorting bucket. But like all of our metrics, one metric doesn't do it. And it's just like in horse racing, if you have one metric that's really strong and the other 3 are really weak, you can't lean into just the strong metric. So, and as the professor showed with the analysis, one of these things is not like the other, and the middle groups are no different from each other.
Yes, it's squishy.
They're pretty tight. So a slightly above or a slightly below average, that's not where the advantages are. And just like there's no difference between a 44 and a 46 and over under. Those are too close. But a 49 versus a 38,
big difference.
Now you're in a situation where based on that over under alone, I might make some matchup changes
in flex
in those
for
situations.
Sure.
In flex for sure.
I think, Greg, a lot of the flex decisions could be started going through this. We're hoping our matchup lab will help people with flex.
Yes.
I think if
Oh,
we
I
can
think
do
this is
that,
great.
that will solve that. Okay.
But
And
I do have one question that came to mind while you
Okay.
guys were talking.
Okay.
As the season goes,
Yep.
your data is going to get firmer and firmer. That's true with
Yes.
any statistical analysis.
Yes.
How good is your data from one year to the next, especially early in the year when all the off-season changes cannot be predicted?
That's a great question.
I have looked at defense information. What I have found was the extreme highs and lows are more reliable than the mid. So, in other words, looking at last year's top 5 and bottom 5 defenses, it's hard for a bottom 5 to go to the top 5 and vice versa. So, the data suggests predictiveness. If you can, is more, you're getting more of a true year to year in the extremes. So the extremes are telling something versus the mid pack. There's the hard is picking the mid pack. Who in the mid pack's going up or down? That's going to surprise people.
Okay.
Did that answer that question?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And then the next question I would have is, have you correlated this to coaches? Because I'm a big believer players make plays, but coaches put in systems that allow players to make plays. And can you correlate the defense against position to specific position coaches? In other words, does a linebacker coach have a big impact on the defense against the running backs?
Right. So what you're proposing, Greg, is that Dr. Bush is assigned interns and he will use his thinking to delve out these research projects instead of just me working on every damn thing. Yes, I agree.
No,
ESPN, give me some damn interns, and you will be amazed, ESPN, what I can do if I have a fleet of interns. And people will get mad at me because I will be telling secrets they don't want to be said.
And the first step to this is to break down based on defensive coordinators. And that's the first step to do along the way, but it's not research we have done yet. But what we do is the professor will update these defenses and the defense strengths several times
every week.
Yeah. John, did you catch that? Dennis said doo-doo.
Yeah, that's kind of what I get in deep in. Me
too, but usually with my wife.
Remember, PhD is piled higher and deeper. So just remember that when it comes down to PhDs, there is a lot of that. Greg, let me finish with the efficiency, and then I'm going to send.
You got me just thinking, man.
Yeah,
we love it.
Isn't that what we're here? That's what we are here for, is to make you think. So what I'm going to ask Dennis after we discuss this is him to come back and give his view. He's an outsider. Now he's inside, but when he first saw when I was putting this together 3 years ago, and he's had 3 years to work through this. His MVP has changed. There's a lot of things that has happened. And I think we'll want to hear Dennis's overview because he really puts the synthesis. That's the weather guy in him, because he's got all these spaghettis models and he's got to shoehorn them into the pot. So that's what we're looking for Dennis. That's what Dennis is going to do, is keep me honest. And Greg, I would love any Saturday we're talking, you're welcome to come, because we're going to be doing this kind of data all the time, and it's going to be specific by weeks. So you may have questions, like you said, make you some money. But this is,
and we're gonna be looking at the
props.
two best games and the two worst games every year or every
Just
week.
to keep it tight.
Just
We
to keep
could
it
do all
tight.
17, but we
And
figure 4
yeah, 4
extremes.
Well, I'm
Four-
gonna for
four
the
to the
contest, I've
extremes.
got to make 2 bets each week. I can do
Well, there
more,
you go.
but I got to make 2. So I can tell you guys, I'll give you a task right now. Tell me the best game to bet on,
Yeah.
the under or the over.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
In the over unders from
Yeah.
Vegas odds.
Yeah.
Choose one game that is the best to either go over or go under,
Yeah.
and I will make that bet each week using your
And
information.
quite often, the efficiency data will be a guide there because the efficiency data in the home away splits will suggest that it's going to be a higher scoring game. And we have seen, and again, we don't have enough data because those data points are small every year.
Yep.
But our familiarity with the data suggests that you can spot, especially on the games we refer to as the squirrel games, the low over under games. Sometimes the efficiency data in the home away splits will clue you in that there might be a few more points scored than what Vegas is seeing. However, Vegas is damn accurate.
Yeah, I figured.
So finding those rare occasions where they're off, and you mentioned it perfectly, they're not trying to forecast perfection. They are trying to forecast what will provide action money on both sides. And so we think that, and when I say we think, it also means we haven't done enough research to know yet.
Yeah.
When we get the data that shows us, as the professor showed you earlier in this discussion, that it was statistically significant, that's something that we will hang our hats on. We'll play to the 90%, 95% likelihood. We won't worry about the 10% beating us because we know that happens. A 50-1 shot does come in at the racetrack unexpectedly. But what we have found,
still bet on the 49.
Correct. What we have found is that we will gain an advantage when our home and away splits and our efficiency data is telling us it's going to be a slightly higher scoring game. We have been right much more often than we've been wrong. The problem is we don't have enough data points to show it statistically. That's why we don't speak in as positively in that if we don't have the stats to back us up, being scientists, we have to say it's a forecast with lots of possibility of error. But so, cherry picking 2 games a week, I think we can have some pretty good success on at least one of those picks for you every week.
So this was Jacksonville, Tennessee. And so this data says that Tennessee's at home. It's in blue. I should have colored Jacksonville in orange. Efficiency last 3 weeks, 27 out of 100. That sucks. Tennessee, 38 sucks, but it's better than Jacksonville. Home away efficiency, there's no difference. 1 means there's no difference. They play home away, probably the same suckiness. Tennessee is widely skewed, 42% more efficient at home. There we go. There's the key stat. And this thing right here, declining. What I do, Greg, is look at the last 3 weeks and compare to the season. And what that shows is the last 3 weeks have been really below what Jacksonville's been doing earlier in the season. Versus doing better, it's going to say green improving. So we got a declining Jacksonville, lower efficiency. Tennessee's at home, 42% loves at home, better than Jacksonville. Everything is saying, that Tennessee should be winning, but Vegas only had about 1 point. So you get a feeling like something's a little funky with that 1 point. It's like they're not including this or the home away splits. I don't
And in
know.
this game, you said that Jacksonville won 20-13.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jacksonville was actually home, Professor. So,
Oh, so
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
then okay. Is it orange? Okay, I forgot my. Ooh, if that's the case, they were 42% less efficient
yeah,
away.
and I remember
Big time data.
yeah, I remember when we looked at this game because it was a squirrel game.
Yeah.
That efficiency data said, "Oh my goodness,
42%
that's
less.
a bad situation for Tennessee."
Maybe oranges. I forgot my
But
coloring. Sorry.
But I remember because of these efficiency datas that we also said, man, we might not hit that over under. Like,
Yes.
we're going to probably be under that number.
Well,
Those
having
are
Tennessee
awful.
playing that bad, yeah.
Two combo factors against.
And running backs were favored, so that implies less plays because they're running and keep
And
away
they're
the
running
clock.
the clock when
Yeah,
they're up.
so the hardest thing, Greg, in all this is synthesis. So when readers and podcast people hear us, it's not going to be the first week and they got it all. Dennis and I are still learning and thinking, but this is a journey. And so I want to encourage everybody, you take your diary. Does Bush's data help you or not? If it doesn't, then don't bet on it, right? Don't go, betting the mortgage on it, but follow along and see if we aid you in figuring it out. And that's what I want. If you could say, Dr. Bush, you help me win a little, a $2 bet, that'd be great. I don't care. You don't need to win the $1 million maker. Just if I can help you get better. That's what I've done with my students. That pleases me. Got a lot of karma to make up. I was a bad boy and a teenager. And so I got a lot of karma, Greg, that I've got to shoehorn in these last 10 years of my life.
John, we all do.
Yeah, so I got to add good karma and help people. Greg, you're doing good. You're the man, and I appreciate that because no offense to your colleagues, there's some go around like a little bit like their aristocracy. Yes, you may touch my hand, and here's my crown, and Greg, you're just almost a good old boy. You're from Houston, or I know that's where you live, and that's
actually
who I am.
Austin. We moved to Austin this year.
Yeah, Austin, but that's what here in Arkansas, there's people that are not highly educated, but they're nice. They want to help you. And there's some goodness
John,
to
I
that.
misspent some of my youth in the hills of West Virginia.
Okay, then
right.
those hill people, first, they don't play, but boy, they will help you. If you got a problem with your moonshine still, they're over there, like an emergency to get your run going here. Get your thumper thumping here. I love moonshiners. I watch that all the time. Anyway, as a fermentation guy, I love the science of fermentation, the most amazing thing that was ever, if there is a maker, that's what he did, making yeast turn their waste. And I tell my students,
there is a maker, John, and he turned water to wine. It doesn't get better than that.
I understand, but he used yeast.
There was yeast involved in that.
Yeast, it's their waste product, and it becomes something we drink. So really, alcohol is equivalent to human urine. So we are drinking yeast
please
urine,
don't say that.
and we love it. We guzzle it, and all the students love that joke. I've been saying that, and I look at them and said, "That's what it is. You've been drinking."
Well, that explains the taste of beer.
Yeah, yeast
really
urine. Hey, if it wasn't for beer, we'd be dead. Because in the Middle Ages, that was the only thing you could drink. The water was full of whatever. So beer saved everybody.
I could do slow gin all day.
Slow gin. Okay. That is more than I wanted to talk about. We've got the video.
So one thing I do want to point out about this data is
go ahead.
When you look at the numbers and let's look at the scaled efficiency. 38 is higher than 27. Yes.
But not really.
But they both suck. Okay. So when I look at that as a meteorologist who deals with all kinds of data, I don't look at those two numbers as vastly different. The thing that does concern me is the fact that Jacksonville was declining. That I don't like. I don't like the trend going in the wrong way. But the efficiency data really
look,
didn't
here's
mean anything.
Tennessee, here's Jackson. It's not much. Yeah, if you got something here and something there, that's what I like is the extremes.
Yeah.
And my power rankings this week, I don't even know what I had here, but whatever.
Have you done your power rankings for week 1 games yet?
Not yet, but
okay.
Here's Tennessee, and I don't know where, and
Jacksonville is farther down the red.
But look, Dennis, they're in the mid. I mean, there's there is nothing overall that's going to point you one way or the other. The thing that I point was that home away split efficiency.
Home away split was huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the big difference.
Yeah, you're right. They were. Yeah. Okay. My bad. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do for the sports affiliation is our matchup. We're going to go about 4 games. And again, we're going to invite you and anybody else every Saturday to come in, and have fun. And Dennis, what do you want to say about your take for the last 3 years looking at this?
Yeah, the interesting thing is the efficiency data has really been probably one of the most helpful things in helping me decide on those really tight matchups. Especially when you get into bye weeks and injury situations during the fantasy football season, I find the efficiency and the home away splits can even skew my thinking in the right direction more than the DAPs do, which is really, it's counterintuitive to what I thought going into this whole process. And we've been doing this 3 years now. The data has stayed fairly consistent. So the data really hasn't changed much. And what it's been is trial and error of seeing these advantages. And that's why when I saw the 42% difference, it's like, whoa, that's
an extreme.
Tennessee, yeah, that's a huge extreme. And the fact that Jacksonville is just middle of the road in everything that they do, like, again, the 108 versus 102, no significance. The 1 versus 90.98, no significance. The 27.2 versus the 38.5, slight edge to Tennessee, but not enough to get excited. If that number had been 50, closer to double, then I'd be a little more
against
excited.
Position data would really indicate Tennessee has a big advantage.
They're
pretty much green everywhere.
Yes.
Correct.
Where Jacksonville is red in 4 of the categories.
So here's the flip.
Yeah, Jacksonville. Yeah. Now, again, both these teams had backup quarterbacks, correct? In this game?
Correct.
So I would think that could skew things too. So I think I agree with you, Dennis. The efficiency thing, that 42% is huge for an away game.
Yeah, and that's the difference here. Because if I saw these same DAPs and Tennessee was home with a 42% better
advantage
deal at home versus away, then I'm taking the greens seriously. I don't worry about the slightly aboves or, the above averages, and the below averages do not bother me or worry me one bit. The extra easy and the easy will make me look. But again, it's the two groups, the middle numbers and the bottom numbers together, that really combine in the thinking. And here's one other thing. If this over under on this game was, let's say, 48, 2 different teams, and you had a 48, and you had the same matchup with easy and extra easy, I'm looking at that different than when the scoring is going to be really low. In other words, good teams take advantage of the defense matchups better than the bad teams do. Now, having said that, one interesting thing that we have noticed is that if you've got an extra hard matchup for running back, it's going to help the quarterback wide receiver combo, even if they've got a tough matchup. So the running game being limited forces a team to pass, and they will have more success than you expected them to otherwise. So it's really an interest, especially if they've got a bad running back. So in other words, if you're coming into this with a running back with an MVP around 75, and he's got a tough matchup, the quarterback and the wide receiver on that team, I'm going to ride all day. And I don't care about the matchup. I do care if it's a bad home away matchup or bad efficiency data. But if it's a higher over under, I'm looking for excuses for them not to score. And even against a tough defense, how many times do we get two, great teams together on a Sunday night matchup, both with great defenses, or even in the playoffs? KC and Buffalo each put up 30 points against tough defenses. So you will see the passing game will eventually succeed if you got a great quarterback, even if you got a tough defense.
Though. Do you factor weather in?
Yes, I do. The biggest weather factor, other than precipitation, because everybody reacts to precipitation, I only react to precipitation if it's heavy, either heavy rain that's going to be all day, which is a rare event in the fall and winter for us, except for down south, you'll get some heavy rain days. But a lot of your southern teams are domed, so it doesn't matter. Right. But when I see crosswinds, strong crosswind components, that's when I get worried about the passing game. Over 15 miles an hour on the wind in a solid crosswind. In other words, a complete 90-degree angle to a north-south field. If it's a east-west wind or even a northwest wind at 25 miles an hour, as long as you've got enough of a crosswind component, that's when I get worried. The teams
are fields always designed to be east-west?
They're supposed to be north-south.
Oh, they're supposed to be north-south?
They're supposed to be north-south. I only even have to check that with some fields now. Every once in a while, I'll check the orientation of the field on Google Maps just to make sure. But if you remember back to announcers when we were growing up, they were always saying, "Man, he's got to go north-south. He's got to run north-south."
Yeah.
And that was because a typical football field was aligned north-south. And the reason they did that is because they didn't want the east-west sun being a major factor,
impacting one team more than the other,
the other during the quarter. But if it's a due north wind at 20 miles an hour, I don't worry about it. Like it sounds stupid to say, but I don't worry about it. It's the crosswind component of the wind. That's when I factor in. And weather effects are cumulative. Okay, so if you got a strong crosswind and you've got rain, I don't even care if the rain's light, or if you get a strong crosswind and you get some light snow, it's going to bring scoring down by 3 to 5 points a game. Now, 3 to 5 points, that's not a lot. It's not a big advantage.
It's a lot in an over-under bet.
It is on an over-under bet. It gives you an edge, but the number of times you get an edge from the weather every year is probably less than 10. It really is a low number, but it is something I target for fantasy football. When I see a strong wind, crosswind component, I start getting worried about the quarterback and the wide receiver. Sometimes that's better news for your running back because it's short check down passes sometimes. But again, no one size fits all in our analysis ever. The way a defense, for instance, if you got a strong crosswind component and you got a defense that is really strong against the tight end, that tight end's gone from the game. Like, he is dead to me, unless it's, the ultra elite guys that always find a way. If it's just your Brenton Stranges and your Tucker Crafts of the world, those are the days that they have their low scoring game, and hence why they have a lower MVP. Even a Laporta outside, we have seen some huge, not home away splits, but home bad weather splits for Goff over the years. If Goff is playing in anything crosswind over 10 miles an hour, I get worried about him. That's the big difference with Goff. Some of these weather effects are very player specific when it comes to quarterbacks. For instance, your strong arm guys like Josh Allen, Mahomes, they're less likely to be affected by the wind than Jared Goff is, or Caleb Williams is. Caleb Williams has a strong arm, but not an accurate arm. So now you add wind to his inaccuracy, and it will hurt him a lot more than it does a Mahomes or an Allen, who just can throw that ball through anything.
I like it. It was good.
This is interesting, guys. It really is.
We're going to try to keep it tight because people get mentally tired. There is data from psychology that you should take snacks during long tests and things. There's some brain glucose concept. They've done tests where they've given like sugar-free versus sugary, and people did a little bit better when they fed their brain. So I would say everybody, when they think and set their line up, not that they're gorging a whole pie, not that I couldn't, whole pecan pie, but just have some crackers or some cheese, or just don't be hungry when you're making decisions, okay? And help yourself out that way. So there's lots of good things to learn. And that's one that I've learned over the years, is I try if you're mad at your spouse or your kids are setting the house on fire, that is not a good time to set your line up, okay? Or go draft, because you're mad at somebody else and you're just going to mess up. Greg, is this more than you wanted, but you're fascinated?
I'm definitely fascinated. It's more than I can take in.
I know.
It leaves me with more questions, to be honest.
That's good.
And this is why, when we are presenting this data, that I give my analysis on how it might affect my decision making. And I'll sometimes give some examples from some of my own teams with some guys players, that other fantasy managers are having to make the decision about. So it would be in this situation, it would be, okay, I've got an easy quarterback matchup. I know Tennessee's not going to score a lot of points, but if Ridley was one of my guys, that it was, one of my choices to start, I'm going to take advantage of these DAPs, even though I know it's going to be a low scoring game. I'm going to roll the dice and say, okay, this might be a, 8 to 12 point game. He's going to be around or just slightly below median. And I didn't know before I looked it up. So he had a 13.4 game. Ridley did. One thing I would do on low scoring games, I tend to get off the WR2s and I get off the streamable tight ends. So this would have been a day to avoid Okonkwo and avoid anybody else other than Ridley. Okonkwo actually had a pretty good game. He had 9.2 points, which is pretty good for him. I would have been out on him, though. I would have stayed away. Their next best wide receiver, tight end Nick Vannett got a touchdown, so that skewed the data. But the Hoosier hyphen, Nick Westbrook-Akine, he went to Indiana. That's why I call him the Hoosier hyphen. He had 6.7 points, bleh. And Tyler Boyd had 3.4, bleh. Didn't do anything for me. But that's my strategy would have been to be off on the tight end and the extra wide receivers because it's going to be a low scoring game. They're going to feed Ridley or nothing at all. And on the running back side, I would have said, yeah, I'll take a shot at Spears. I don't love him, but if I need to start him, I would. And Spears ended up having 13-point game. So not awful.
That's startable.
It's startable. It's startable. Yeah, anything over 12, I'm like, all right, that wasn't a bad substitute play. And that's how I would use the data for this. And again, that home away split would kind of clue me into saying, I'm not crazy about any of these guys, but I would have taken a shot based on the home away splits if I really needed a play. And again, I'm not encouraging you to play them, either of those guys. It was a desperation play, final week of the season, and both would have been hits based on the matchup data, the depths. But we were expecting a low scoring game. We got a low scoring game, and that's the key. The other thing is, in low scoring games, I don't like being on the quarterback. I want to look somewhere else for the quarterback. Running backs and wide receivers, they'll get their points because they don't need to do much.
Dennis, part of that was both quarterbacks were backups.
Correct. Oh, yeah.
So that's probably a large part. It's why the over-under was low.
And the game came down to a turnover and 3 sacks for Jacksonville. So, that's a situation where, we would have been on the Jacksonville defense or the Tennessee defense because of the low scoring game. Yep. We'd have said, okay, they're going to get theirs. They're going to get maybe a sack or two. And will they get a turnover?
And the best defensive scoring is based on yards and points allowed anyway.
Yeah. And that's, that's usually penalizing you for a big game against you. In a lot of these leagues, that's, you're not going to get hurt on defense if you're middle of the road. You're going to get hurt if you give up, 400 yards and 35 points. They're going to hurt you in a lot of the scoring.
The Greg asked about week 1. The highest over under right now is Buffalo, Baltimore.
Ooh, yeah.
Sunday night.
That's going to be a crazy finish.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about going the under on that game, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for me, one of the best run defenses against running backs is Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they limit Cook in this game. I think James Cook, I know he can catch passes and that can modify things, but if I'm taking a bust of the week, I'm probably going to choose James Cook as one of my busts this week.
Nice.
Because he's a top 24 running back, and I'm not sure he'll get top 24 points.
Yeah. The worst game is Pittsburgh Jets, 38. So that's going to be a sad game.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about that because I don't know what Aaron and Caleb are going to do. I think Caleb could have a big game against the Jets.
And I will clue you on something just to let you know. Last year, I tracked points per snap by teams. Yeah. The worst week was week 1, and it really went up. Dennis and I were discussing that in the podcast. He didn't know it was. I like surprising. So, Dennis, I was just looking the other week, and I saw that. I said, I need to follow up on that. But just realized last year, the first week was the worst scoring overall with everybody who had a snap and their PPR points. So I just did team PPR per snap. Whoever's got a snap, what did they do? And that was the lowest of the week of the season. And week 2 was next. And then by week 3, it was normal. And when I say normal, it was pretty much.
So it takes a couple of weeks for teams to get up to
I'm
speed.
just saying, Joe. So again, that's an average. Doesn't mean there's not extremes. Yeah. Greg, you're thinking about extremes, but so people need to think about averages and extremes, and that can be hard, and that's what takes you a lot of time. The law of big numbers, it just, it's like if I flip a coin 10 times and it's all heads, it gets crazy. It's roulette. 10 reds in a row. Do you bet red again or black? And, it's a statistic question they always ask you in college. And, what's the probability there's going to be a red after 10 reds? And as long as the wheel and the ball and everything's fair, it's about 49 or whatever percent, because there's a double zero that doesn't, I don't think it counts red or black.
0 and 00 are
Okay,
green.
so it's about, but the odds would be the same. And so you're saying the coin flip, as long as it's not a two-headed coin, I mean, you have to check at that point. It could be a gangster taking your money, but that's so. It's the same. 10 heads in a row, 50% heads. It's just, but it's hard because our evolution, it doesn't want to say that. We look for patterns and we miss things like noise and law of numbers because that didn't rule in the cave. All we knew is, last week I went down there and got a wildebeest out of the water hole. That's good luck. That means there's probably another one there. So I'm going to go there first. Could be a lion there waiting for me. But, that we are really fight or flight individuals in this kind of crazy game. And it's hard to think in probabilities and law numbers. And whatever you saw last week, Greg, if there was a 2-touchdown guy, people are going to go crazy. He's Hall of Fame. And, I told Dennis the third snap in, there's going to be sleepers, victory laps, and, well, he's a bust this season. 3 snaps. I predict Thursday there's going to be, but, if James Cook has a bad, he's a bust. And
here's the wonderful.
It's going to get crazy.
Remember Zamir White. That is my calling card heading into week 1, because I remember people taking a victory lap on Zamir White, a player that I had 0 shares of in all formats of fantasy football. I even traded away my dynasty shares before the season started because I knew they were never going to be worth more. And he scored a touchdown in the first quarter. Like, I think it was less than 7 minutes into the game last year. And everybody was victory lapping who was on Zamir White. Season. And I was like.
And now people are saying, who's Zamir White?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting that's the, that's the reaction.
Welcome to the weeks. Yeah, it's going to be funny, Greg.
It always is. Yeah. It always is. But it's it's same thing. I'll be hearing about Barkley all the way till the end of the year.
One way or the other, you're going to hear.
That's right. If he has a down year,
boy,
people are going to look at me like I'm a genius.
Yeah.
And if he has a great year, they're going to look at me like I'm.
Well, he's a dud. He's over the hill. Let's put him out to pasture.
But see, here's where my rationale is different than most fantasy football players. I do not care about the guys that I miss on in the first few rounds. I am drafting in the first 3 rounds for guys that are as secure as I can get. And as I get past round 7, all I care about is upside. And if you build your fantasy football strategy that pays off even when you are wrong, that's the goal of a good draft strategy. And that's how I built my better than zero strategy. That's why I handcuff more than typical. It doesn't mean I handcuff for everybody. If I draft Kyron Williams early, I might not handcuff him because I'm not sure who the handcuff is. Is it Corum? Is it Corum? I don't know.
It does. Trust me on this.
And see, that's where I'm not as willing, because I look at the data and I say, I cannot prove it. So I get worried. Now, if I
Why?
draft,
Blake had like 40 carries last year.
yeah, but they drafted another rookie running back.
Yes, they did.
That's what gets me worried. And I look and I say, is Hunter more of the replacement type for Kyron Williams, and Corum is more of the complementary back on most weeks? My reality says if Kyron Williams is getting 70% of the touches, okay, I'm not saying that he will, but that's sort of my gut prediction at this point. If he's getting 70% of the touches to 30% for everybody else, if he misses a game, I think we'll be closer to a 55-45 or a 50-50 split. I think you're going to get less volume out of Corum than you got out of Kyron Williams. And because of that, I probably won't handcuff. But if I go with Devon Achane, for instance, I'm handcuffing with Ollie Gordon. I'm probably drafting Ollie Gordon late in most drafts anyway. That's where my strategy is a little bit different. I don't demand that I have to handcuff, but I'm probably going to. And probably the easiest handcuff situation for me right now is Breece Hall. If I grab Breece Hall, I am looking for Braylon Allen about 5 to 10 picks before his ADP because I want him on my team.
Charbonnet and Walker.
Charbonnet and Walker's a great example as well. But I will tell you, if I miss on both of those, and I'm in a deep league, I might look at that Halani kid who beat out Martinez for the third spot. He's on my radar. And what we do a lot on our show too, Greg, is we talk about players long before they are in the spotlight. I put out a series of articles this year where I previewed all 32 teams by each division. And in there, I indicated who I thought the next man up could be. And quite often I did list two. And sometimes I didn't list any because, in my opinion, there wasn't anybody on the radar at this time that was worthy of even remotely considering in deep dynasty. The advantage to me playing a lot of dynasty leagues is I'm on these guys long before they're a redraft guy. Just looking at the possibilities. One popped up this week. He was signed by the Washington Commanders to their practice squad. Guy that you're familiar with out of Michigan, Donovan Edwards. What if
he was a 5-star when he came to Michigan?
Yes.
He has talent, yes.
What if Bill is not good? We already know that Rodriguez has been cut every season he's been in the league several times a year and ended up back on the practice squad.
He ends up on the practice squad every year.
Yeah. If Eckler, runs out of gas, Donovan Edwards, he could emerge. This guy's got the back class of being a 5-star recruit. And
you want to talk about a Michigan guy, though. There's two of them that I would put over Edwards right now. One of them is in San Diego, and LA now, but what used to be San Diego, and that's Hassan Haskins.
Oh yeah,
I think if something happens to either Ollie Gordon or to Najee, Haskins has a role. I'm not saying he'll be the primary, but he will have a role. And in Tennessee, I think Khalil Mullins is going to build a role, whether anything happens to Pollard or not. I think people don't understand. Mullins is a new running back. He played linebacker for 2 or 3 years at Michigan and only played running back 1 or 2 years. So he has not been playing running back very long. So he's still learning the position.
See, Professor, somebody else is on the Mullins bandwagon. Yes. Yes. He's been a guy that I like late as one of our late RBs.
I'm on the Michigan bandwagon, to be honest.
Nothing wrong with that.
I like Roman Wilson, too, in Pittsburgh.
Ooh, what did I tell you, Professor?
Y'all are killing me here. I like to listen when Dennis says these things because these are people I might put on my dollar for a couple of weeks. And I'll stockpile them. And, I want to stay ahead on the waiver wire. I don't
We
like
tend
to,
to
yeah.
we tend to churn our rosters a lot. Like, for instance, I might draft an ordinary wide receiver as my fifth or sixth guy. I might draft a Christian Kirk. I might draft a Lockett, for instance, just to have a guy holding down a spot. But if I see,
Jacoby Myers, the
yeah, no,
guy that's
well,
going to get
Jacoby
the
Myers
points,
is a
but he's
little,
not going to
yeah,
explode for you.
but I like Jacoby Myers would be more of like my 3 or 4 at wide
Yeah.
receiver. But if I've got a deep wide receiver and he doesn't pan out, I'm going to that waiver wire and I'm investing in another rookie running back or young running back. Haskins is a guy that I picked up in a lot of leagues last year when everybody else started going down. Didn't pan out, but that's okay because I can churn the roster again the next week. But that's the way the professor and I don't sit on our rosters very often. We are usually, if you look at our leagues, if you look at the statistics, we're probably more active in churning that roster. And sometimes, yes, we make a mistake. We release a guy too soon and he comes around week 6 or 7, but that's rare because we're usually churning with our ordinary wide receiver or tight end backups.
Yeah, a lot of times I won't even take a tight end backup.
No,
I'm a one kicker,
yep.
one defense, one tight end type guy.
Yeah, playing in FPPC has changed my attitude a little bit because I used to be a 1 QB, 1 tight end guy, always in 12-team leagues. And in FPPC, I take a minimum 2 of everything, in most leagues because the waiver wires get a little thin when you have a 10-man bench.
It's a tight end premium.
It's a tight end premium. And I love having that extra tight end. So I'll, even if I get a premium guy, I might take a Brenton Strange late or maybe even a Higbee at the end of the draft or add him
Waller
in waivers during the bye weeks. Waller, another guy that I'll take a shot at. And if they don't pan out, then that's a roster spot to churn. But during bye weeks and with injuries at FPPC, sometimes that tight end premium rule comes into play. So we always specify where we're playing too when we give some advice on that, because if it is a tight end premium and it's a 2 flex league, it changes the dynamic a little bit for me.
Yep.
Yeah, even with tight end premium, I think taking a tight end in the first 2 rounds that's not named Kelsey is insane. And I won't do it now with Kelsey because he's not Kelsey.
Yeah.
When Kelsey was outscoring the tight end 2 in the league by 60 to 100 points, he was worth a first-round pick because he was so much better than anybody else you could get. Now, I look at Bowers and I look at McBride, and I think these are good tight ends. But so is Laporta, so is Evan Ingram, so are several other. There's at least 6 tight ends that could end up tight end 1 this year. Because of that, there's no way I'm taking the tight end before the 5th round.
In 2022, I was invited to play in an analyst league, and they were like, "Oh, we can invite you. You've been making a lot of noise on Twitter." So I got invited, and I happened to get the 12th pick in the draft. And everybody, this is 2022, everybody was saying, "Oh, I wonder who the first idiot is going to be to grab a quarterback." And then somebody else said, "I wonder who the first idiot will be that's going to grab a tight end." Well, I was writing an article. I was preparing for an article as I was doing this. And the title of the article was "Any Strategy Can Work," that kind of a thing. And so I'm watching this chat, and it's so active, and everybody's like, "Oh, I wonder who the first idiot's going to be. And I was like, all right, so I'm a Chiefs fan. There's no money on this league. It's just for fun anyway. I got the 12th.
Kelsey.
I got the 12th pick. Yeah, I picked Kelsey first, and then I picked Mahomes back to back. And I was like, man, I'm a double idiot.
22, they did good.
2022. Yeah, so I lost 2 games all season. I got beat by Kamara in the regular season, when he posted a 40-point game. And then I got beat by the Kamara in the playoffs when he had I got Kamara when he had his 5-touchdown game. And the 5-touchdown game, Greg, I lost by 3 points.
Was that regular season or playoffs?
No, this was at the playoffs. Playing in the finals, it was either the semis or the finals against Kamara. I got beat by 3 points when he had a 5-touchdown game. I was this is crazy.
Sometimes you're fated to lose.
But that was my only losses because I knew I had some running back and wide receiver, bargains that were going to pay off that year. And I was like, Kelsey and Mahomes are not a bad combo if I'm going to make a statement that any strategy can win. And so it made the article look really good. That's all I know. Yeah. But it's the fun, you got to have some fun in some of those leagues like that. And I'll dangle Dennis, a weirdness.
Every league I'm in, I take one Wolverine and one Lion.
I like that.
I don't care if I take them early or late. I draft them when I think they should be drafted.
Yes.
But I have one so I can root for them even if my team sucks.
I've had a couple of teams this year. I do the same thing with a Chief. I usually have a Chief on the team. And I had one team.
I got Worthy in a bunch of leagues.
One team where I went completely without a Chief, which is I usually have some Pacheco, some Kelsey, or some Mahomes, or I have Worthy, or I might even have a Hollywood Brown with the suspension to Rice, or I'll have Rice and I'll take the lumps on the suspension. So I got to the end of the draft. I got to like the 16th round and I still realized, I don't even have a Chief. So I grabbed Brashard Smith. I'm like, I got one. And I like that kid. I think he could, and especially with the Rice suspension, Reed might use him in some interesting ways, but I like that. I don't mind having the token Chief on one of my teams either, like you do with your token Lion or Michigan guy. Now I won't go because my Boilermakers have really sucked for a number of years. I won't insist on having a Boilermaker. Yeah.
You had Drew Brees for years.
That was an easy one, yeah. And and if I'm in IDP leagues, I do that with Karlaftis or because he'll usually come cheap, and he paid off last year. So I use that same strategy sometimes just for fun.
John, who's your favorite team?
Saints.
Okay.
He's in mourning.
So you're in for a rough year. You're in for a Lions fan type experience this year.
Yeah, we're used to that. So it's
could be in the Arch Manning Derby though.
Yeah. I got to tell you, as long as I've been a Lions fan, I've never worn a bag over my face.
Yeah, well,
I've never done that.
Yeah, it's
there were some years that would have been a good fashion statement to make though.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them back in the years. Yeah, the 70s.
Yeah, Lions had some bad years. I agree with that. But no Lions fan has ever put a pig's nose on their face and dressed in a dress. So as long as we're not Redskins fans, I think we got a hand.
The Hogettes.
I really do.
Yeah, the Hogettes. Yeah.
Well, as a Chiefs fan, I remember they went 4-12 the year before Andy Reid came to town. So it's been a good ride since Mr.
3-13 for Detroit before we got Brad Holmes.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Been nice rides for our teams lately, Greg.
Yep, it has been.